Hello, good morning, and welcome. I am Jessica Haynes. I read romance, I write romance, and I now also publish romance. And I am joined by the Thelma to my Louise, the lovely.
Emma Jackson. Oh yeah. Do you know I've not watched Thelma and Louise? So
I have
I
not
don't even
for
know which
many
one that
years.
is. There's one with
I have
curly
no
hair
idea
and
who
one
is
without,
who.
or maybe I don't. Yeah.
No idea. One's a lady, the other's a lady, and there's Brad Pitt. That's about it.
Yes, that was literally my thought process. I was like, he's in it somewhere, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Um,
With a
yeah,
cowboy hat. That works for
yes.
romance.
Which I do all the romance things too.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about romance books. Lots
Yes,
and
we
lots
are.
of lovely romance books.
We are, and it's week 3 already. How has
I
that happened?
know.
I've just
Yeah.
time is going. No, no, it's not. It's infinite. Time isn't ever going to go, but this time is going.
Oh, that's like a debate to get someone
Mm.
in on, isn't it?
Yeah,
Call in
not
my other
me.
half. He would sit
Yeah,
and talk to you for like 3 hours
ever
about
about what
that.
that
Yeah.
means.
But
Mm.
me, I'm like, whatever you say. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
The
At a
time
certain
at the
point,
moment is I just look at my watch.
yeah, it's between meal times for me. It's breakfast to lunch to dinner to bed.
That's it. And it is school term time, which is very important.
Yes, yeah, that is a very, very good time.
Yeah.
But so this week it is week 3. You might have noticed
Yes.
we said it about 25 minutes ago. It seems.
Yeah.
Um, we are doing curses, possessions, and summonings this week.
Yeah. I am going to shorten that for the title of this to just like dark magic because I think
Oh,
I might
okay.
I might have trouble fitting that all in on the thing.
Oh, I thought you'd
Oh,
do
I'll see. I don't know.
a person, something
Mm.
like take the like we'd
Oh
be
yeah.
Gemma.
Mm. No. Anyway,
Well, that's a discussion we'll have when we're not
we'll
recording.
do that, yeah. And we shall get into telling you about our dark magic books.
We should do. So, do you want to go first? Do you want to go
Oh,
first this time?
okay. So have
Go.
you got one for like each of the different flavors of dark magic?
I believe I do, yes, though I kind of I went through many books to find them. Yes, I think I
Yeah.
do.
You trying to find like specific.
Yeah,
See, I
for
think
each.
I was a little bit like tricksy when I suggested this one because I kind of knew
You had them in
I
mind.
had a couple of books that I was
Mm.
like sitting on my TBR that I was like dying to read and hadn't got round to reading yet. And I was like, oh, well, that one would work quite well, and that would go with that. So
Brutal
yeah,
honest,
sorry.
that's only fair because we've just done what I choose, which is
Yeah,
basically if there's a wheelhouse for Jessica, it's there.
that's it.
So
Yeah. See, I would say out of all of our topics for this, like, this trope season, this has kind of been my catnippy one for
mhm.
like, the books I read a lot of, I think. Because I had quite a few options, but they were just so I've got should we do Curse first?
Mhm.
Because I think Cursed is probably like the biggest out of that. Would you
Yeah,
say
there's
that you could
always
come across a lot of curses in fantasy romance?
yes, there's always a thing to be opened or an item to be found, and yeah,
Yeah.
it
It's
it's
like
there.
curse and prophecy. They're kind of like
Mm.
they're two big ones, aren't they? So my curse is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross.
Ooh.
And this one it's uh a duology, and I've only read the first book. I have the second book, which I'm dying to get into, but it does conclude in its story, and there's kind of a cliffhanger, but not. I'll get into that a little bit as I go.
Okay. I'm all
Um,
good with cliffhangers. I never used to be, but
yeah.
now it just gives me more books.
Well,
So
I feel
I'm
like
okay.
I feel like I have the responsibility when I'm recommending them on the
Yeah,
podcast
you've
to
got
be
to.
like it has a satisfying ending, especially if it's
Yeah,
not done yet. Um, I don't want to recommend something and it's like
you've
two
got a
books and
year.
then in the last one of them dies or something. I feel like I would be doing I'm gonna get hate mail because
Oh,
you made me read this book and now
I
it's
was
like
gonna say,
life's terrible.
yeah, we're not Stephen King with the Joffrey thing, are we? We'd never be able to live that down.
No, no. Um, right. So there's this island called Cadence, which is, I think it's never explicitly mentioned, but it's off the coast of Scotland. I don't know what time. It's like an elsewhere, elsewhen kind of time. Um,
Elsewhere.
yeah, it's like like,
I like
like
that.
yeah, so it's a cool phrase, isn't it?
Mm.
And basically there's two halves, there's two like clans on this island. You've got the west and the east. And there is a curse that's been placed on them by the fae, the spirits that are there. This island is like all very in tune with that. But once there was a marriage between the lairds of both of the clans, and it did not work out.
Mm.
And it ended in blood. And so since then they have been cursed to have the west side, it's like a barren land, but they can use magic more at will. And they tend to use that for enchanting like swords, violent objects, so they can go and raid in the east side, which has abundance. It's, you know, everything grows, the crops are lovely. But when they use magic to enchant things, there is a cost. Like it will make the people ill, they will overextend themselves and stuff. So
That's a
so
bit harsh.
it's like a bad balance kind of thing. And what's currently happening is on the east side, there have been some little girls going missing. So there's quite a like that's a little bit of a trigger warning if that
Yeah,
will
darky
bother
darky,
you.
yeah.
It's I would say it's not, there's nothing you need to worry about too much in that vein, but it's not to say that it's not an
Yeah, if
emotional
it might.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like but yeah, I mean it's bad enough being abducted, but there's nothing really horrific you have to worry about there. Um and Jack he was sent away from the island when he was about 11, and he's been over on the mainland learning to be a bard. That's one of the other things. I think there's like they always have like an official bard that is there to play music and do like the oral folk telling and stuff like that. Um, and but he was sent away because he thinks he was always kind of an odd one out. He's illegitimate. His mother won't tell him who his father is, and she's never admitted it to anybody else. So everybody's like been looking at
Yeah,
their husbands like, was
yeah,
it you?
yeah.
You know?
Where were you
So
on this night?
he's not been popular. It was tough for
Oh.
him growing up, and he's been sent away as well. But he's just received a letter from the laird saying, we need you to come home to help us to find these girls. And he's like, well, how am I going to help? I play a harp and I sing. What's this going to do? But he gets back, and it wasn't actually the laird who had written to him. It was his daughter, the heiress, who is a darer. And they were like rivals when they were kids. They didn't
Of
get on,
course they
but
were.
obviously they see each other now, and
Obviously.
that friction is kind of delicious. Um,
Literal.
but she said what they know now is the role of the bard. It used to be her mother, and she died a few years ago. Um, so they haven't had anybody playing music and doing that to like have those community moments in the hall. And her dad's getting ill from the ailment that they get on the east side. But they now know that she also used to regularly play for the spirits, and they're worried that because they can't find a trace of these girls anywhere, it's like they've disappeared into thin air. They can literally see, oh, I think Jess is frozen. Jess, are you
For me,
with
but I
me?
can hear you.
Yes,
I can
there
hear,
we
yeah.
go. Yeah. I was like, you're looking at me really intensely then. But yeah. Oh, the internet connection's unstable. Let's hope it's gonna catch up in a bit. Let's see. You can
Just keep
still hear
going.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, I
just
can
keep
hear
going.
you fine.
Um,
We're
so
all unstable. It's all
yeah,
good.
she used to play for the spirits like maybe twice a year, and they think that used to keep them happy, and maybe that's why that maybe they're taking the girls. It's not unknown. Weirdly, we talked about this in
Yeah.
abduction for Faye to whisk someone off to their other world, you know, and they disappear for years, wouldn't they, and come back, and
Mm.
it feels like it's only been 10 minutes to them or something. Um, so yeah, that's how it gets drawn into it. And but how I feel okay with kind of suggesting this one, because at the end of it, they do have a relationship, Jack and Adara, and it's very delicious and there's great stuff going on. But it ends not necessarily how you would think for them. But there's another relationship. It's like double for your money. And it kind of
Ooh.
snuck up on me, and I didn't realize there's another relationship with Torin, who is like the captain of the guard, who's been in charge of the borderland. And he has his wife. They've kind of had a marriage of convenience. His first wife died in childbirth. And so they got married very much on the understanding that she would come in to help him raise the child. She wanted to have her own home and stuff. And they've had basically that delicious marriage of convenience trope where they've both developed feelings.
Oh,
And
God, they have.
yeah, so yeah, it's all you get lots there, and it surprised me. I was like, oh, I'm invested in this too. Is this happening?
Yeah, there's a second. I thought you were going to say love triangle when you mentioned another chap, and I'm like, oh, that's not like you.
Yeah. So that is my first, and it's beautiful landscape, and the Fae stuff is really cool because it's got that kind of ambiguous thing. You don't know whether they're good or bad, or actually they're just indifferent to what's going on, and there's like mystery and stuff. It's a really fun one.
Okay, so I have my first one now. It kind of has a possessioniness in it, and I've kind of twisted things because it's ours and I'm allowed, that it's not necessarily a curse that would put on somebody, but something has happened and the chap involved feels cursed.
Okay.
So something has occurred and it's a curse to him. He hates it.
Thinks he's cursed like in actuality, or he's just saying it's like
this is a physical curse upon me. So the
Okay.
book is Stormwolf Summer by Zoe Chant, and it's really weird because I don't know if we've had many, but this is a couple in their late 40s, early 50s as well. So this is kind of an older school one, which was quite nice, and deals with a sort of more that era of things happening. Bad knees, sore backs, can't kneel down in the woods anymore, chafe.
Getting there.
So we have Book, who basically he starts the book off. Book is my spirit animal generally, because he keeps waking up naked on the top of cabins in the woods where he lives.
Okay.
And he's never happy.
Didn't realize this happened to you often.
No, but just his grumpiness and the way he acts around things. I just love him so much. But basically he was a wildlife firefighter. There's a load of other series with Zoe Chant's books of mythical creatures who fight fires. So he was part of that, but he used to be human. But at one point in time, something was happening and he got attacked and bitten by a hellhound. So he has now been turned into a shifter and he hates it. He does not want this creature inside him. It's there. He can feel it and he cannot control any of it. He wakes up naked all over the place and he despises this thing inside him. So this to him is his curse.
He's kind of seeing, he's seeing it as a curse and also as kind of a possession. So it kind of like
it's
like
a mix of the two.
But
so I kind of it had to be done.
Changed. It's not an actual possession.
It's not an actual curse, no. But potato-ness.
This is it.
Yeah.
Blurry lines.
But, yes. So he lives in a cabin in the woods on the site of, I think it's his nephew's camp, and it's where it's going to be a summer camp for loads of shifter kids. So he's found by the kids of all of the fire crew who are put there for the summer, and they are the nicest, precocious little kids ever, and they are lovely, bless them. And I'm like, hey, Book, are you up on the roof again? He's like, but his swearing is fantastic. He says sweet baby cheeses because he's obviously all these kids are going to be around and he can't swear. So yeah, he gets a lot of mother loving cheeses out in the book. But yeah, basically the summer camp is going to open. He's there, but he's in a cabin far off in the woods, but his nephew gives him a shout and says, okay, I need you because one of the counselors has dropped out. I need you to help because if you do not, the camp has to shut down and these shifter kids will have nowhere to go, nowhere to learn. So he's there fighting his own demons, not wanting to do this, but knowing that these kids could be in the same sort of situation that he is with this animal that they can't control. So he joins in and he's not happy about it, but he goes along with it. And then we get Honey comes in, who is going to be one of the counselors. Her name is Honey Bunch, which again, this is fantastic. And Honey is going through her own motions of divorce and her life kind of getting to a point of being over. So she heard from a kid in her school she was working at that there is this summer camp out in the middle of nowhere. So she's like, you know what, I'm going to go, I'm going to do that, get away from everything here. Unfortunately, because she heard it through somebody who was saying it to somebody else, she doesn't know it's a shifter camp. And she is definitely not a shifter. So she turns up kind of thinking it's all sweetness and light, bumps into Buck in her original meeting with, I think his name's Zephyr, who owns the place. And yeah, Buck's creature takes over, and that is his mate. So then he's 10 times more peeved that this woman has turned up and this creature has gone 10 times worse.
Right.
But then, so I think one wants to leave, one wants to go the other way, but the same problem still sticks, that if any of them leave, the kids have to go. And if they then find out that Honey isn't human, the main contributor to who's helped pay for funding for this thing is this epic dickhead of a dragon, will pull his funds because he's very purist, that you know, it only has to be full shifters and nothing else. And he kind of sends his nephew there, and obviously he ends up in Buck and Honey's group of kids that they have to look after. So it's kind of basically going through the motions of that. Buck trying to deal with this thing who is kind of acting out of turn anyway because his mate's there. He speaks to her and lets her in on the secret. They have to try and keep the secret that she's human, but she's pretending to be a shifter. So she's pretending to be a shifter while he is a shifter and doesn't want to be there. And they have to kind of pretend to be mates, but not, because everybody's kind of centers in it. And the kids in their group are trying to force them together by climbing up trees. And jumping into ponds and getting stuck and stuff. And it's just, it's so well done. And it's so fun and just really nice.
I love that.
Really, really
I love
lovely.
that because it's like that's like a twist on a trope, isn't it? Because you usually get like the paranormal creature trying to hide that they're paranormal. And it's pretending
the other way. And they're like, "Are you not going to come and shift with us into your wolf form?" And she's like, I go and do it. And then one day she has to kind of go, the kids are getting really suspect. So she's like, goes into the woods and takes her clothes off to look like she's going to shift, and then has to hide them away. And obviously she's going to find Buck when that's happening, climbs in through his window, and he's like, what the?
I think that's going to be going straight
so
on my Kindle.
It was really, really well done. And even all the kids have got little things going on. And there's one little bear shifter. I think that's how she finds out. And he runs in from the car and just like does a gambol or forward roll, if you're not from the Midlands. And he just turns into a bear. And she's like, what the? Fluffy bear. Oh, it's very well done.
Oh, little kid bear as well. He's so cute.
Just tiny little. It's like
makes
Brave.
me think of like Brave. Yeah, that's what
I was going to say. My brain's just gone. Your book was Scottish.
I know. My brain did exactly the same thing. It's
that's okay then.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely my
that's
one.
Our Professor X moment.
The Brave. Yeah. There we go. Right. So, my next one. Should we do possession next or summoning? What do you think?
I think I'm possessed next. Yes.
Okay.
I am possessed.
That's cool. It's kind of that's like a nice segue into it. He felt possessed. This one is actually a full-on possession. So it's One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I think that's how we say it. I can't. Looking at it, I'm not sure I can say it anymore, unless it's
Gulag.
Gillig.
Oh, Gillig.
I don't know. Yeah, apologies. We're not making fun of the surname. We're just making fun of ourselves. Yeah. So Elsbeth lives in a place called Blunder, which is I know it's a cool name for
that's so cool.
A town, a country. I'm not quite sure. It's like a large place, but there's magic in this place, and it's old magic, but it's prohibited. Magic is prohibited unless it's part of the these providence cards. I thought this one might like you might like the sound of this, because it's like it's a really cool, like unique magic system that I've not really come across, that you may be more familiar with the tarot cards and stuff. Um, so what happened was there was a bargain centuries ago with the Shepherd King and the Spirit of the Woods. I think that's what they call her anyway. To gain some of the magic, and he gave away something, and then they were gifted with magic that gets trapped in these Providence cards. And I think there's like 12 different kinds of them, but you have more of some, and then it goes down until you get like the rarest cards.
It's like Pokemon cards,
And
that
the Nightmare
Charizard
card. Yeah, the Nightmare card is like the second rarest. No one has ever seen the other one, which I can't remember the name of.
it'll be here somewhere, don't worry.
Twins. Yeah. The Nightmare card, there's only 2 of. But people barter for these cards and stuff. But the bad side is there is like this mist that infects people, usually children, with magic, and they get a fever, and normally they go downhill, they go crazy or just ill, or but it's been kept kind of quiet that you can also gain a magical power from it. There'll always be payoff, but you can gain it. And Elsbeth, when she was a child, got the fever. Now her dad, rather inconveniently, was the captain of the guards who goes out and collects these children and sends them to the dungeon. So he sent her off to live with her aunt, who was the sister of her mother who's died. And he remarried and had other children and stuff. But he didn't arrest her, so that's a bonus. But he didn't exactly look after her either, and he resigned from being captain of the guards and stuff. And she had got this power to absorb the magic of the cards. So if she touches them, she absorbs magic. And she touched the Nightmare card that her uncle found, and now she has the nightmare living in her head. He's been there since she was a child, and she can call upon him to help her with strength, but he is very much not her friend. He's not, he relies upon her for his existence, but he's mysterious. He talks in these really cool like verses as well. Everything's like a rhyming, these little riddle type things. It's really, really cool. And his presence in her mind also gives her the ability to sense when people have cards. Now, one of the parts of this that they're trying to do is it's been foretold that if they can collect all the cards, every single one, they can get one of each kind and go to a particular place and give an offering of, I think it's cursed blood. They'll be able to lift the problem with the mist. The mist is growing, it's cutting them off from surrounding areas, it's getting harder and harder to just harvest and things like that. It's spreading over fields and things. And one day she's heading back from visiting her dad's, and she's accosted by some highwaymen who are like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just a maid that lives in that house." She's not a maid, she was just lying, trying to get out of it. Lives in that, and they're like, "Oh, do they have any cards there?" And she's like, "No," but she calls upon the Nightmare, and he gives her the extra strength, and she fights them off, and she gets back to
quite useful.
It is, but every time she does it, his control grows over her. Yeah.
So the lifting of heavy boxes would not be useful.
Yeah, you wouldn't call upon it willy-nilly. Definitely. It wouldn't be
just
like
to decorate or something.
Yeah. No, unfortunately not.
Carry these shopping bags in.
It's a bugger, isn't it? And then they're called to the equinox celebration at the royal family's place. And who should she bump into but these people who seem suspiciously like the highwaymen? But it's the new captain of the guard. So she's like, what's going on? They're being outlaws. They're trying to get hold of these cards. There's all this stuff. And, she's quite gratified to see he's like a bit bruised up from where she fought him off. She's like, aha.
Who did that? No one. Yeah, I did.
But he also happens to be very handsome and mysterious. Yes, Raven, his name is. And it comes to light that him and a group of others, I think it's his parents, his sister, and his cousin, who's like one of the heirs to the throne. He's not the first in line. He's not like the crown prince, he's the next in line. They're all working secretly to try and collect all these cards to do the offering, because the king plans, he's trying to do it, but he plans to sacrifice their little brother, basically, because he's been cursed and he's got the fever and they're trying to keep it quiet, and because it has to be cursed blood. And he feels like the king's kind of trying to, it's kind of a mercy, because they know they're going to die, or that's what they think is going to happen. So she agrees to help because she's got that ability to see the cards, and their paths are intertwined at that point.
Yes, they are.
And to explain her presence, they have to have a fake relationship thing, which and they get off on the wrong foot with it, even though there's the attraction there. And it's just it's really good. It's dark and there's action, but it's like all gothic-y, and the magic is cool, and it was just, I just zipped through that one. But that is a warning for a cliffhanger. And the second book is, I think it will be out within the week of this episode going
good
out, so don't hate me.
Yeah.
I'm like pre-ordered it. I'm like, give me the book. So I don't know for sure, disclaimer, how that one's going to wind up, but I know that it was a very satisfying read anyway, but there is cliffhanger.
Okay, so two things, because my brain is going as you're chatting.
Okay.
Firstly, I assume she'd be ending up with the nightmare. That was just my brain's like, yeah, she's going to end up with him. That's just where my head goes. Secondly,
not with this one.
No, my head.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is it. We don't know what's going to happen.
Never say never. But...
Secondly, have you got something against kids at the minute? Just all your kids are walking out and dying and missing.
Dark, isn't it?
Yours have gone back now. Yeah, they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like the other side of my personality, isn't it? It's like I go all down the dark gothic route, and it's like it's really a bit
but the juxtaposition between the two of us, mine's all happy and light and
joyous. Normally, like, my thing is like, here's all the like cupcake stuff.
What's going on?
You've got camp in the woods with the little bears running around,
marshmallows,
and I'm like, the kids are all stolen or diseased
in all the books.
Sorry,
I'm just wondering what you're going to bring out.
Sorry, not sorry one.
Yeah, we're waiting for your third one now. Oh, well, I'm just going to up my game then, because I've got a serial killer coming, so it's fine.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. That's it. I think I'm going dark, and then Jess comes
and then it's just the one louder. We go to 11. Okay, so this is The Demon in Me by Michelle Rowan, and it kind of starts out, when you were talking about, okay, mine's a bit like this. Okay. So we have Eden, who, in her own words, kind of psychic, kind of isn't. So she's got this little gift, and I think it's probably a very American thing that she works in like a call center that you phone up, and people, you read their cards, and you do like psychic readings for people, and you pay like, I don't know, £4 a minute sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think we used to have like a Mystic Meg thing. We like
that's exactly what went into my head. Mystic Meg. I'm sure in the newspaper there used to be a little number you could call.
Phone this number and she'll take 4 out. And this card is that sort of thing.
Oh god, it'd kill me. Yeah.
So she does this as her job, and she happens to attract the attention of like the police chief's wife by saving her dog. She's like, oh, my dog's gone missing. Yeah. She can't pick these moments, they just come to her, and she's like, oh yeah, he's in that wood, you lost him when you were walking, off you go. So the police chief gets in touch with her and says, look, we want you to come on board and be like, just give us a hands-on thing with this serial killer, because he's killing a lot of women and he's gone quiet. We found the house that we think he's been holed up in. Can you come and just have a walk around and let us know what you think? And she's like, I don't know. But then she gets, But
Bit
then
different to my usual gig.
Yeah, it's a bit different, like filing the nails with the phone under the ear. But she gets, when the boss learns the police are involved, he sacks her because obviously that's not good. So she has to kind of go and do it and get a bit of cash from it. Turns up at this place, meets this detective who's basically doesn't want to take any of her shit. But they go around the house and she's chatting to him. He's a kind of a nice looking chap. So she's chatting away and she basically says, yeah, not really a psychic. I just have these moments.
Yeah.
And I can't pick them. I can't choose them. Then she has a moment. And she's kind of, okay, we're just going to go here. And she opens the cupboard and there's a dude with like the knife. The serial killer is hiding in the house. Grabs her.
Jeez. Yeah.
Takes her. And she's like, shit. And then he starts talking and he's not talking to her. And he's like, I've got it in my head. I've got to get it out. Got to get it out. Got to get it out. No, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her. No, I can't kill her. No, leave me alone. And yeah, so the girl hasn't got a clue. The copper is there, shoots the serial killer. Everything falls down. And then this black smoke starts coming out of the serial killer straight into the nearest body, which is her.
No.
So yeah, you kind of think this is going to be a really horrendous thing, but he's actually not too bad. He is Derek, and he's a demon. Yeah, Derek, not Derek. It sounds like, doesn't it? Derek.
Because I guess the assumption I've had is that it's the demon that's been making the dude be the serial killer.
It is making people kill people. No.
But was it not? It's just coincidental.
No. Basically, he was cursed by a witch many, many years ago. She was cursed. She summoned him and was cursed by the witch that summoned him.
Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, into this mist, and he's not been able to survive without a host. So he jumps from person to person, and he's been trying to pick not great people, because we find out after he's inhabited her that basically his hosts tend to have a shelf life of about 12 months.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not great. So he doesn't really want to be in there, but he has to move to the closest thing. So he goes in, and as you would, she's having an argument with this thing, does not want this dude in her head. And he's kind of like, I saved you from the serial killer. I was telling him not to do it. So, you've got to thank me for that. But she's like, yeah, I don't want any of this. So she calls an exorcist in to try and get him out. And yeah, it gets to the last moment. They're doing all of the waving of the herbs and stuff and trying to get Derek out. And then she has a moment and she's like, actually, I can't do this. I can't get rid of him and kill him because he actually does seem like, because he seems like quite a nice chap. And yeah, I've jumped totally. They're in this room and he figures out he can come out of her and become whole. And he's never managed that before. Yeah, but he's never managed it before. Yeah. And then, it takes up a lot of energy. So it only lasts for so long. It's kind of when it's daylight hours. Daylight hours, long enough. Yeah. So every morning he kind of wakes up in her bed with her. So, enough for what it needs to be. But so the exorcism doesn't work. She tries to kick them out, but they're having none of it. They want this demon gone. Yeah. So so then the police officer who was with her with the serial killer luckily turns up to see how she is, because she's just witnessed a massive murder and nearly been killed. So useful. He gets them gone, but everybody is then kind of pulled into this. So it's the mum and the son who are the exorcists. They want the dude gone. Derek wants to find the witch that cursed him because he wants his body back. So he wants Eden to help him find her because he can sense. He's basically been following her for years. So he hops from body to body, sensing where she is. She's close. So he's like, you want me gone, I want out. You can help me by finding this witch. And then loads of stuff starts to happen when they find the witch. And then we find out Derek isn't maybe as nice as he penciled himself to be. But
Does
then The
the
Exorcist.
detective get involved as well? Or
Oh,
is that just me
there's
because you made
more
me
books
read
in the
loads of
series.
watchers?
No, there are more books in the series that come that
Oh.
like the epilogue at the end of the book. So
Mm-hmm.
the exorcists you find are part of this big cult thing. Who
Right.
are she called? You know, if you're picking up the yellow pages and there's 30 of them, there's probably going to be one that's real and
Yeah.
part of a crazy cult. And she
Mm-hmm.
finds them. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
basically you get to the end of the book. I won't spoil anything, but then
Okay.
Ben is the detective, and then he saw loads of stuff happening, and he's like, yeah, this can't happen. They've taken Eden, they've turned her into this monster, these demons everywhere, these exorcists doing all this stuff. I want to help. So that is the last bit of this detective
Uh-huh.
being put into this cult and going through the motions of becoming that. So yeah,
Ooh,
loads of stuff went on. It's very good.
that is, yeah. Cool.
Mm,
Twisty turny type of
yes,
stuff.
I love a
Mm.
good twisty.
Do you know how many books are in the series? Is it finished yet? Or
I
is it
don't know. I
not sure?
kind of had to put down to go on to the next one. So yeah, this is
That was the same with me with the River Enchanted one. I was like, I have
yeah.
to read the next. I want to read this book, but I have
But
to
I have to
read the
read
next
this.
book
We
for
have to
this.
bring
Yeah.
this to people.
If I'd had like a week more of time, I would have read both,
Oh,
and
I
then I
would
would
have
have
been
talked about
doing them.
both probably.
Yeah. 4 hours later.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we've been
I will
there, we've done
find
that.
out.
We're
Oh,
trying to
so
be better.
failing to be better. Book 3.
Book 3. Right. Yeah. On that note, moving swiftly on. Right. So mine is, we were talking about me and my usual MO being a little bit lighter than
Yes.
child abduction. And this one is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This is, yeah, a lot of people have probably seen this one around. It's one of like the main kind of witchy rom-coms that's really taken off mainstream type stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously got the rubber stamp there for the trope appeal. So Mariel, who I have to keep reminding myself is Mariel, not Muriel. I don't know. It's
Muriel's
Mariel.
wedding.
Is that a maid? Yeah, exactly. She was, when she was born, there was a prophecy that she was going to be this immensely powerful witch. But life has not necessarily turned out that way for her. Her mother is an absolute nightmare. Um, you know those like tiger mums who expect a lot from their
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
but equally she's really not helped her self-esteem. She's very disappointed in her because she's not great at the spellcraft. Meryl, she gets her, it's all based in like different roots of Latin and it's very complicated, and I never did Latin at school, thank God. But she does have like a real gift with nature, but they kind of dismiss that as like, oh, you're just playing with your flowers
Just
and stuff,
gardening.
because her mother can like teleport massively. It's very flashy magic.
Yeah.
And their family, the Sparks, are like one of the founding families of this town, Glimmer Falls, which is like a hub for magical creatures. So magic is out in the open. It's not like a secretive thing. But this town in particular has a really big population of all the magical creatures because it's on ley lines. So, it has a lot of just inherent magic around it. So yeah, the expectations there. And Meryl, she wants to go and don't worry about it. There was she wants to carry on studying for like her the nature side of things. I forget the exact name and what level of degree it is and stuff. But she can't afford to. Her family's really rich, but
They won't pay.
they won't pay for
Yeah.
her to go and do it unless she tries harder with her work,
Bless her.
her spell work. So she's attempting to do that. She's been trying to do some teleportation stuff. A decapitated chicken or two has come away.
You're
She feels
very dark
terrible.
today.
Feels terrible about it. And then she's like, she thinks, oh, I'll just try and do it with some like ordinary magic. I'll do some cooking. I'll do some baking. And she tries to summon like some flour. Turns out the Latin spell word for flower is very similar to the word Osroth, who is a demon. She summons a demon into her kitchen. Osroth the Ruthless is its full title. And
couldn't have been the cuddly, could it?
well, you say that, but
Oh,
of
is
course
he?
he arrives, you know, very tall, dark, got the horns, and he can't leave without making a bargain. Once it's done, that's it. He's got to go back with a soul. They bargain for souls because on the demon plane, that's kind of how they get their energy. So they will come when they're summoned and they'll work out a bargain and they take the soul, which actually it seems like it more equates to the magic that's within a witch or a warlock. But obviously Mary was like, well, this was an accident. No, you're not
You've
having,
got to go
there's
home.
nothing you can offer me. I'm not going to give you my soul. And he's stuck there. It's even worse for him because he's a little bit of a laughing stock these days in the demon realm. He had a great reputation. He was amazing. Osroth the Ruthless, obviously. But he had a little bit of a problem with one of his bargains. It's like 2 or 3 bargains back. And he accidentally absorbed the soul rather than able to take it back. The warlock who was he was dying and he basically wanted like a painless death in exchange for his soul. Osroth agreed, but the warlock did something a little sneaky, little tricksy there. And now Osroth has a soul, and he's got feelings and he doesn't know what to do with them. He's like they do have feelings, demons, but they're very like calm and level, and it's like it's a lot. It takes a lot for them to react. And now he's like got this sort of human soul.
Overabundance.
And the more time he's in the human realm rather than the demon realm, it's harder for him to deal with. So he's stuck like tethered to her. And you know, her mother turns up and she has to kind of go, who's this dude? They stick a hat on his head. He's got to say he's got a condition to hide the horns. I don't know what condition. He's conveniently been cursed so that he can't talk about it. Yeah, he just says that. It's just a lie. And like that's what comes out of Meryl's mouth, is that he's her boyfriend to explain his presence in her life. And yeah, so they're stuck together and things develop.
Of course
He's such a little cinnamon roll of a
bless
demon.
him.
Yeah,
We're on the same wavelength at the minute. I think it's very all right, I will go through mine and we can pinpoint the similarities.
Okay.
There's no baking in this one.
No baking in this one.
Well, there is clumsiness. So this is Mated to the Monster by Sarah Spade.
Okay.
And this is like teenage Jessica, full force. So we have Shannon, who is mooching around, goes into a bookshop and finds this old spell book. And as you do when you kind of sat there at the weekend, got nothing going on, she kind of goes and decides to read the book and just has a play. Why would you not? Can't you read? Got this book, you know, manky yellow pages, language you can't understand. Why would you not?
Wouldn't? Yeah.
Why would you not?
So well, I mean, like teenagers nowadays might not pick up a book, but
yeah, no, they're just scanning Google.
I get that's a bit of a generalization. It's just my pre-teenager, I would say, because a lot of teenagers love reading, but you know, just me trying to get mine to read.
Yeah, read the book. No, look at the Kindle. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Listen to an audiobook, anything.
Yeah, just for the love of Jesus. Read the back of the soup. So she has a play with the book and she reads this spell. There's a little name, like a kid's name, scrolled onto the bottom in like crayon sort of thing, like it says Amy, and it's obviously a kid's name. She's like, that can't be too harmful. So we'll have a play. And it's a true love spell.
Okay.
I think she reads it. It's a true love spell, kids written on the bottom. And she's got a bit of a crush on the dude who works at the coffee shop. And she's like, you know, in for a penny. If it don't work, fine. If it does, maybe, you know, me and him might hit it off. What it does do is summons a massive big red sombra demon who is her other half of her son into her bedroom. There you go. So yeah, she's obviously a little bit bothered and perplexed by this. She puts like a circle of salt down, as any good witch knows, that keeps them contained.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure out a way to get him back. So she's reading through the spell book and she's doing things and trying to signal to him. He's speaking a language she doesn't get. He obviously doesn't understand English.
Okay.
So they're trying to kind of do this at each of that. And she's like, you know what, I'm going to read the rest of the spell. And she does it, and it's actually basically like the binding between them. So then you go into his soul and his story of it.
From the first time.
No, and he's sort of stood at this window that he can't go past, listening to the love of his life, who he's waited 1,000 years for, recite these ancient sombre words of true love. And they touch hands, and kind of she passes her essence to him through this. And that's how it works with these demons. They kind of meet, they find their fated one, they share their essence, and then they bone to kind of seal the bond. So he's up for this. So once he has her essence, they can understand each other. And he's like, cool, I'm gonna come out, give you my essence, mated, job done.
Give you my essence.
Yeah, it's a nice way of putting it, isn't it?
Nice way.
How can we give you my essence? But yeah, he is all in 100%. Not 100. You can't be more than 100%. 100%. He's 100% in, no more, no less. And yeah, he's there for it. And whatever she does, so again, they can't be too far from each other. So she's like, you know what? I can't be doing this. So she goes to leave, and he just bursts into flames.
Whoa.
And that's like, yeah, so she has to come back in, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of what happens. Until we seal the bond, we can't do anything about it.
Wow.
But yeah, he wants to do that, she obviously doesn't, and that's kind of the bone of contention. But he can turn into smoke.
The contention.
What's this episode called?
We know, we have a winner.
But yeah,
that's gonna be perfect.
Oh, it really is. I don't remember what I was saying. Yeah, he can turn into smoke. So he can follow her around to places.
Okay.
But because he doesn't want to dump loads of stuff on her, and with the demons, they just mate and it's not a problem, he doesn't tell her that it has to be done. It's like time critical, that if they don't do it, then he basically ends up, he can't be in our realm for more than a certain amount of time without bonding.
Yeah.
So he will then be chained and sent to prison forever if they don't. Yeah, this is it.
You didn't have sex on time. Get your ass to jail.
What kind of male-orientated world is this? That they're like, you need to have sex with me now, otherwise prison. Yeah, but yeah, it is the king or the duke's ruling that this happened. So he's okay with it, because that's just how they work. But he knows that she doesn't want to, and he doesn't want to upset her, so he doesn't tell her. And then it's kind of going back and forth, and the more Sombras come to take him away, and they have to she makes decisions about having to join bits, take some of his essence, but not physically. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, and there's lots of nice things that go on. And she then tries to find Amy. She's like, there's a name in this book. Something has to go on with whoever this person is. So that's interesting.
So
lots of stuff going on. It's all very, very good. But yeah, he is just the lovely cinnamony chappy as well, and big, massive, like 7-foot red demon, giant horns,
but
lovely
just
chap.
Little sweetheart.
This is it. And he's like a kitten or a puppy. So she's like, okay, I can't leave you in the circle because it's just not right. So she breaks the salt, and he comes out, and he's nice. She goes to bed, and he's like there on the bed the next day. I stayed and watched you sleep because I love you, like Doug.
Yeah.
I hid under the porch because I love you.
Doug the demon.
Oh, bless him. With the little collar on.
Oh, it would have been handy. She wouldn't have had to do the rest of the spell.
It really would. And if he had a voice like Alpha, that would have been fun.
Side note, did you see Elemental over the summer holidays?
No, we've not yet.
There's a little short that's from Up at the beginning of it. They do a little short, don't they, for their mains. So yeah, that will be arriving on the Disney Channel, I should think.
I need to watch that. No, we did Barbie over the summer, so We're just Ken. We're Ken off. But yeah, that's all of
you
mine.
You had a few cozy ones in there. The serial
I
killer one, not so much.
Yeah, no, not so much.
Yeah.
It had moments.
Yeah, I forgot to say about the fake dating one for the demon. It's also like all of the creatures being there. There's like pixies and stuff, and it kind of was giving me vibes of you know, like the CM Scoster ones, where
Yes.
you've got, you know, that kind of, yeah, that cozy town
Yes.
that's like, you know,
It's
you'll just
Cambric
walk
Creek sort of
past
vibey.
yeah, the Cambric Creek one, that's it, and you walk past a water fountain of like a, you know,
Oh, there's a Minotaur having sandwiches with a Mothman.
that kind of thing. Yeah, that's really cool. Oh, yeah, that's added a lot to my list again.
Yes, it really has. I'm going to go and find some cards.
And it kind of works as well. I think our last couple are a little bit in tune with what our next trope will be, because I considered one of them for that as well.
Oh, yes.
Because we're going on to do age gap. Yeah, because that's I don't think you win with 1,000-year-old demon. That is some time to wait for.
1,000-year-old virgin as well.
Oh my. Oh my.
So you can understand why he wants to get down to
He was
it.
eager. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a really useful spell. So it literally is like how to summon
your true love.
Your true love. That's like, you could make a mint from that with a dating agency.
Weirdly, they meet Amy and her demon. So she's written in it and obviously summoned her demon. But sort of similar to one of yours, that she summoned him when she was very young. Okay, so he came to this planet and couldn't stay and couldn't bond with her because she's like 10. So he kind of hid in the shadows, but they found him and they locked him up. So he sort of sat in this god-awful dungeony prison for like 20 odd years while he waited for her to get to a point and call to her, and he managed to break out. But I got to the end, I'm like, I'm sure I've read that book at some point in my life.
So you think you've read it out of order?
I think I've read them out of order. But no, I haven't. I know. I have read it in order. No, I think I read the other one ages ago, so it is the first one, but I don't know when I read it.
It is the first one.
Yeah, it is. So it was just very, I'm like, I'm sure this rings really, really close to home.
Yeah,
really.
It's amazing, really, when you think of all the different, all the similarities that stories have. Like, we're just going through just those 6 and how they cross over, and there'll be like interlink similar things happening in them and stuff. And yet you can read it and still be like, no, that was a specific book that I remember that I read like 7 years ago. You know, ask me what's happening at school next week that I need to send in some PE kit for. Nah, don't know. But I remember that random book.
Because of that one specific thing. Yeah.
Couldn't necessarily tell you the name of it or the author.
Oh, I'd never tell you the name of it. Well, I can on this one now because I read another one.
Well, otherwise, that's the handy thing.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah,
and we will have in the notes, as always, a list of all the books that we've talked about. I hope that is helpful to people, because I would feel that was very useful. If I'm listening to a podcast and they're talking about loads of books, I will come away and be like,
what was that one called again?
What was that? I've got to listen again and sit there with a pen now. But for us, you could just go into the
you could just have a look.
That's it. And there will also be our links to our social media. And if you're listening, a link to go and watch it on YouTube or on Spotify, which also does video, or vice versa. If you've been watching, there will be a link to go and find somewhere where you can just listen to us.
Yeah. You don't want to see what our
the strange, like, stilted thing where we were having a little bit of network instability.
We were that 10 minutes we were unstable. You can skip through that and just listen.
It's not just 10 minutes though, is it? It's just that the technology called us out for those 10 minutes.
It's this thing of time, isn't it? We are eternally unstable. It was just a bit more visually aware of it.
That's 10 minutes. I think we carried it off.
Yeah, we're fine. Cool. No. So we are, did you say where we are? SFF Rumcast.
Yeah, I didn't
at all the places.
But that's it, at all the places. It's nice and simple. Yeah. So that's it. I think we're done.
Join us for the obvious vampires in the age gap next week. If we've not got at least one,
You already got them lined up.
I think there is a series with creatures who I think are all old, and I need to have a backtrack
Right.
through
I
to
mean,
see which
if
one
there
I'm
was
picking.
any that we could have gone back and looked at anything we've read and be able to pick 3, 4, 6, 12, it would be age
It
gap
would be this
in
one.
paranormal or fantasy
Yes.
romance,
Yeah, of
definitely.
all the books that we have read so far, probably most of them will still fit into age.
Yeah, that's it. We just go through and tick that one would have been in
Yeah,
there.
that one
would
did,
have
that
been
one
in
did,
there.
that one did.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah, we
I'm
will
her, she's her.
hopefully. Yeah, that's
See
us.
you next week.
Bye.